I'm Rebecca Gordon. This is my sister Sylvia Gordon. And in this episode, we're going to talk about ACA and does Medicare.gov really know what it's talking about? All right, so if you go to our map, November 1st is going to start the kickoff for open enrollment for under 65. And you go to the GordonMarketing.com site. We've added a lot of carriers, and it's crazy because the carriers are going into a lot of states, which makes you think
A lot of choices,
and that it's a viable product, that it's a viable,
right. It's competitive.
It's come back. ACA was really awesome, then it really sucked, and now we're seeing all of this growth, all of these options. It's wild. So take a look at this, find your state, and you can see what options you have. And it's just amazing to me. I've been doing under 65 for a long time. So this kind of charges me up. She's older than me. I am so not older than her. Total lie. She always loves to say that. And if you zoom in, you're going to see that I'm much younger.
Okay, let's talk about Medicare.gov. So a lot of agents don't use Connecture or Sunfire or Omni platforms, right? They're still going to Medicare.gov
for their answers.
Yeah,
their
go run somebody's drugs. And the problem is, all during AEP, they have to get the feeds from the carriers, right? And then sometimes there's a problem with the carrier that CMS is upset about something and they don't update that. Sometimes it's just a glitch. This one's not updated. Right. So you're calling in and you're like, my client went to Aetna's site and it says a different price than Medicare.gov. Aetna's site is correct. The carrier site will always be correct. Medicare.gov will not always be correct. And that can throw you in a loop when you're trying to run a bunch of drug plans during AEP. And then they're like, well, this is not what my sister has. And she, sorry, that's just something that everybody needs to know is happening. It's always happened.
Know your login, your password for the carrier sites.
Especially these really expensive drugs. And you know what's going on with the really expensive drugs. The American consumer thinks that the Inflation Reduction Act of 2023 or 2022 made a huge difference in their drugs. They're like, oh, insulin cannot cost more than $35. Certain insulins, right? Maybe not your insulin, okay? Mm-hmm. And then the one thing that I think is hilarious, and in the law, is it says what happens in 22, 23, 24, all the way down to like 27, 29. It says this year that they are going to reduce the copay for certain adult vaccines under Medicare Part B. So that's Shingrix. That's the shingles vaccine. Like it's one drug. Mm-hmm. They said certain vaccines. I'm like, well, what else is there? Because the flu shot, the pneumonia shot, those are already covered. Those are already free under your preventative. So if there's another one out there that I don't know about, the copay's going away.
Well, I will tell you, the shingles hurts.
But get the shingles vaccine. It's Shingrix. There's no generic. It's a 2-dose shot. And now, starting in 2023, there will be no copay. It'll fall under, under preventative.
It's covered if you're 50.
You have to be at least 50, but you got to pay a copay, and that copay out of pocket could be like $68, $70 per shot. So that's where agents were looking bad, because you're like, hey, there's these great preventative services. You get a free flu shot, you get colonoscopy every 5 years, you get a pap smear every 2 years, you get mammogram, and then they get the shingles vaccine, and they're like, you got to pay us this money. You're like, what? Because it didn't fall under Part B preventative, it fell under Part D, and it had a big copay. There's no generic. So that is part of the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Every time I say that, it makes my blood boil. That name is so propagandish. But you will get your shingles vaccine. If you haven't gotten it, I greatly encourage you to get it and block a little time off, because either the first dose or the second dose will give you flu-like symptoms and like body aches and pains. Either the first dose or the second dose. I've never had anybody that made it through clear, but I highly recommend it to get it. And if you're under 50, because you're an agent, get it. Oh, not under 50. If you're 50 or over, but not an agent on Medicare, get it.
So, yes, get the shots. They're painful. But if you are under 65, so now that they've opened it up for 50-year-olds, which is why I got mine last year, you're not going to have that high copay because it's going to fall under your group plan or Obamacare. Like mine didn't cost anything. So you get in those high copays. That's
on
more
Medicare.
Medicare.
That's on Part D.
So. But it did hurt. It really hurt.
Yeah, I had the body aches in bed for a day.
It sucked.
But tell your clients, especially your clients that are turning 65, that it will no longer have an out-of-pocket copay starting in January. Happy
Hallelujah.
AEP.